On April 5th, 2023, an ice storm devastated the provinces of Quebec and Ontario, knocking out electricity for more than 1 million people, myself and my family included, resulting in fatalities and severely damaged property and infrastructure. As of recording the audio for this video, it has been almost a week since the ice storm hit. While me and my family are very lucky to have the power back in our home and in our neighborhood, even after almost a week, there are still thousands of others who are without power. That means no electricity, no heat, no hot water, no lights. Now, given the nature and name of this YouTube channel, quite obviously the primary focus is on video games and stuff related to video games, but I've made it no secret that I am Canadian, and I've let it slip a few times over the years that I do in fact live in the province of Quebec. I've made a few jabs at and referenced here and there Canadian politics, but for the overwhelming majority of the time we focus on gaming and pop culture here on the channel. Sure, I dip my toe into philosophy and morality time and again, but when it comes to politics and real-world events, I usually spare you all from having to hear my opinions and perspectives on those subject matters. But given, from what I can tell, just about no Canadian content creators are making a peep about this situation, well, someone's gotta say something, and if no one else is going to say anything, I guess it might as well be me. This recent disaster, this week-long power outage, an embarrassment for both Hydro-Quebec and the Quebec government. Now, for all my fellow non-Canadians and non-Quebecers, Hydro-Quebec is the largest power utility in Canada and a major player in the global hydropower industry. And its sole shareholder is the Quebec government. So they're practically joined at the hip, two peas in a pod. Now, with that bit of context out of the way, here's a little more. Absolutely none of my ire is directed towards the Hydro-Quebec workers, who have been working tirelessly this past week to restore power to all the areas, to all the neighborhoods, to all the people without it. While their efforts are absolutely appreciated and to be applauded, this disaster never should have happened in the first place. Quebec is so backwards and so far behind when it comes to infrastructure and urban forestry. We knew this ice storm was coming. It was reported in advance, yet no preemptive measures were taken, and the people of Montreal, Quebec paid the price for it. Critics have been saying for years that Hydro-Quebec should be burying hydro lines underground. All the other fucking provinces do it, but our premier, François Legault, says that would be too expensive. Oh really, Legault? Too expensive, you say? Yet, this worthless fucking monorail you're having built, that's totally worth the taxpayer money. A useless fucking monorail that no one asked for and no one's gonna use that costs billions upon billions to construct. That is more of a priority than underground hydro lines. Because those are just too expensive. But that worthless ass fucking Olympic stadium we have here in Montreal, which not too long ago got another taxpayer bailout, that Olympic stadium that hasn't been used since the Olympic Summer Games of 1976? So let me just get this straight. Let's all be clear here. Let's get on the same page. Underground hydro lines are too expensive, but a monorail that no one asked for and no one is going to use that costs billions, that's worth the money. And an Olympic stadium that hasn't hosted any Olympic Games in 47 years and is rarely, barely, if ever, used for any sporting events and costs the taxpayers even more billions just to maintain, that's worth the money. That's not too expensive. Just as a reminder, Quebec has the highest taxes of all of Canada. Of all the Canadian provinces and territories, Quebec has the highest taxes. There's a reason Quebec is the laughingstock of the country. There is a reason Quebec is the most disliked province in all of Canada. Besides the Quebec sovereignty movement, the French separatists who want to make Quebec independent and its own country separate from Canada, and whom want to eradicate all English-speaking, all non-French-speaking in the province, those clowns are already embarrassing as it is. But truly, really, it comes down to the incompetency of our local government. We are behind and out of touch when it comes to everything, but in particular, policies and infrastructure. Had this ice storm of this level of severity hit Any other province in Canada, we would not have seen a disaster of this severity like we have in Quebec. Any other province wouldn't have power outages this widespread, this severe, and lasting this long. We pay the highest taxes in all of Canada, yet our infrastructure is decades behind the rest of the country. But fuck modern updated infrastructure, am I right? What we really need is a monorail and an Olympic stadium. Now, during this ice storm, this power outage, this disaster, me and my family were very lucky. While of course we didn't have any electricity, any heating, no hot water, and we lost hundreds of dollars worth of food because our refrigerators and freezers didn't work, so hundreds of dollars worth of food spoiled. If any of you can afford to and want to help me and my family out, links to my Buy Me a Coffee and Ko-Fi pages are in the description down below if you want to donate. Any donations is deeply appreciated and helps a lot. We lost so much food. But again, while we lost food, had no electricity, no lights, no heating, no hot water, we did have a fireplace. So despite the cold weather, we could keep warm at night, and also boil some water. We also had tons of candles, and flashlights, and lanterns. So we had light. I also had books to read. So even though none of us in my family could go to work, because power's out everywhere and the roads are closed due to fallen trees, we could still keep ourselves comfortable, occupied, and entertained. But that's just me and my family. We were lucky, but most folks don't have fireplaces. They don't keep an abundance of candles and flashlights and lanterns. And it's also really sad to see, but a lot of people nowadays don't have a personal library of books to read. There were so many teenagers and young adults freaking the fuck out because they didn't have Wi-Fi. And that's really sad from a cultural perspective, seeing how many young people are just way too dependent on the internet and these apps like Twitter and TikTok, but on the other hand, I do understand from a certain perspective. It'd be foolish of me not to admit that I'm on the internet a fair bit and use it for work and keeping up with pop culture and of course interacting with my friends internationally. However, nonetheless, it's still sad to see so many young people whom just have their whole lives revolve around the internet. But the most egregious of all, and those who have suffered the most in this disaster, are the elderly. The elderly have suffered so much and are still suffering through this. So many who require power and electricity to live their day-to-day lives. Especially elderly individuals and couples who live on their own. Sweet Jesus, this has been nightmarish for them. A few have even died, and several hundred others hospitalized. And all of this suffering could have been avoided. Make no mistake, my fellow Canadians, my fellow Montrealers, my fellow Quebecers, the government in Hydro-Quebec are all going to try to hand-wave this away and hope you forget as soon as possible. And hope you ignore that this is entirely their faults. But do not forget, hold their asses to the fire. Quebec has the highest taxes in all of Canada, yet the worst infrastructure. Building underground hydro lines is too expensive, the Premier says, yet he'll go and waste billions of dollars on a monorail that no one asked for and no one's gonna use, and maintaining an Olympic stadium which barely is ever used and, let's be honest, will never ever host an Olympic Games ever again. It's just a waste of taxpayer money that could be going to better infrastructure. Make no mistake, the April ice storm power outage of 2023 will happen again. Our urban forestry is dogshit, trees are barely maintained and trimmed. Our power lines, completely outdated by modern standards. And with the upcoming worsening effects of climate change, we're going to have even worse ice storms in the future. So I'll say again, make no mistake, history will repeat itself unless something is done, unless something changes. I don't expect this video to do much, or even reach that many people, but I needed to say something, and something needed to be said. Quebec is the laughingstock of Canada. This province has been that way for many, many years now. And this ice storm, this power outage that me, my family, and my neighborhood had to go through this past week, it's all the more confirmation that the people of Montreal, the people of Quebec, the people of Canada, really, we as Canadian citizens deserve better. And Quebec needs to do better, or it will forever be the laughingstock of Canada. Oh boy. Alright. Alright. I won't lie, that was very cathartic to get that off my chest. So, now you all know where I've been for the past week. Sorry for the total radio silence, but that was really completely out of my control. But I'm back, yet again. So you can look forward to more videos, more live streams, more content from me in the very near future. But as for this video, right here, right now, that's about it. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Hitting the like button helps a lot. Please share the video on social media, Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook. And if you want to help out and support me directly and support my family after what we recently had to endure, God, we really need to buy a lot of food. And it's going to cost so much money, so if you want to help out and support me directly, please consider making a donation via the Super Thanks feature here on YouTube, or clicking the links to my Buy Me a Coffee page or Ko-Fi in the description down below. Thank you, and thank you all again for watching. This has been a video, and I'll see you all later.